So, I've noticed, I've heard a lot of stories about people with the 8th gen Malibu, which that's the 2013 and 2015 model, have a coolant leaking problem. And a lot of people think that it comes from this T right here. It goes from the bottom of your coolant reservoir to the back of the engine to right there. And this is like your upper radiator hose that goes from here to your radiator, from engine to radiator. So what happens is a lot of people they'll experience the leak down in here somewhere. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but it'll be like down in this region, and they'll think it's this whole T hose, and a lot of times it's not. This T hose is actually it's like I guess you say it's fitted where focus. These little black pieces don't necessarily come off. They're kind of permanent. But what happens is the coolant reservoir likes to crack and spring leaks at the bottom and run down this hose and run down, and it'll make it look like that these hoses, well, one of these hoses, not all of them are bad. So what people will do is they'll go and replace this entire T fitting, and they'll still be overheating and losing coolant, and they're trying to figure out why. The factory coolant reservoir these cars come with, for whatever reason, they like to crack at the bottom. Now, that's an honest mistake, but from what I've heard, these fitted hose, this T here, is not cheap, and replacing your coolant reservoir is a lot cheaper and a little bit more simple. So I had that issue, and I also thought that the T had failed. Come to find out, my coolant reservoir was cracked at the bottom, running down and dripping off this. So if you have a 13 to 15 Malibu with the 2.5, it might be the same setup with the turbo model. I'm not quite sure, but if you have this coolant leaking and overheating problem come up, you might want to check your coolant reservoir, because you'll save yourself time and money. So like I said, that was my issue. The hoses are fine. It was the coolant reservoir. And if you can't really see the crack with your eyes, which I understand because for some reason or another, typically it happens on the bottom, what I recommend you to do is remove the coolant reservoir from the car and just fill it up with just water and watch to see if you have any drips, and that'll tell you if you have a leak. And what that leak does is, the coolant system is a pressurized system, and then once you let air in, it's just a bad deal. So when it's not sealed, that's when you're going to experience problems like leaks and overheating and things like that. Then you can pick up the reservoir and the cap for maybe $50 or so. I can't really remember. This is an OEM AC Delco reservoir, but that is an aftermarket Motorrad cap. Motorrad, in my experience, makes really good products. I believe the system on these cars is 15 psi, I think, and this cap is 20, but it might be 20 or 15, I can't remember. But I just wanted to touch on that. That's definitely something, if you have one of these Malibus, you should seriously look into. Even if yours isn't bad, I would still inspect it, because if it's all brittle and gross and crusty, it could crack on you, and it's going to be a bad time. So like I said, that's something you want to keep in mind with these cars, just like a little heads up, and even a preventative maintenance tip if you want to replace it while you can. But I actually heard from a reliable source, these T's, this thing rarely really fails. It's more than likely the coolant reservoir. They've had a couple bad ones, but yeah, they just, for some odd reason, they like to crack at the bottom. But so I'm gonna make this quick little video and kind of talk about that. I've noticed a lot of Malibus have that issue. that's pretty much it. If you like this video, have any questions, please hit the thumbs up. Leave your questions down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, if you want to subscribe. Thanks for watching.